There have been a lot of claims lately that all voter integrity laws from Republicans are racist, while all from Democrats are more toward free and fair elections. Now, beyond the partisan propaganda, a recent case at the Supreme Court asked the question if Arizona's election laws are racist. Specifically, does the out-of-precinct policy or ballot collection law violate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act? So we'll discuss that next on the Constitution Study.
One thing you have to know wherever you make your stand came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study. This is where we read and study the Constitution. We teach the rising generation to be free. I'm glad you could join me. You'll find more information about us over at constitutionstudy.com, and I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. By the way, I'm right in the middle of the first leg of my Knowing Your Rights tour, so please check it out, constitutionstudy.com/tour to find out more or to request that I come speak at your event. But before that, let's talk about this Arizona voting lawsuit. Let's start with the Voting Rights Act. The Democratic National Committee, the DNC, claimed that Arizona's voting law violated Section 2 of this act. Quote, "No voting qualification or prerequisite to voting or standard practice or procedure shall be imposed or implied by any state or political subdivision in a manner which results in a denial or abridgment of the right of any citizen of the United States to vote on account of race or color." Section 2, subsection A of the Voting Rights Act is Congress making law that is necessary and proper to execute the 15th Amendment to the Constitution, which reads, quote, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or any state on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude." Now, the Voting Rights Act went on to detail what might deny someone the right to vote. Quote, "A violation of subsection A is established if, based on the totality of circumstances, it is shown that political processes leading to nomination or election in a state or political subdivision are not equally open to participation by members of a class of citizens protected by subsection A, in that its members have less opportunity than other members of the electorate to participate in the political process and to elect representatives of their choice. The extent to which members of a protected class have been elected to office in the state or political subdivision is one circumstance which may be considered, provided that nothing in this section establishes a right to have members of a protected class elected in numbers equal to their proportion in the population." There are a few things to notice with this part of the legislation. First, it's not enough to show that a single circumstance of discrimination based on race or color is a violation of the law. It's the totality of circumstances. Second, since this act covers both elections and nominations to office, it would apply to primaries and caucuses as well. Also, this law does not establish a quota. There is no right to have a certain number of those elected to office based on the proportion of the population. Now, let's get to the meat of the law as it relates to this case. Quote, "It is shown that the political processes leading to nomination or election in the state or political subdivision are not equally open to participation by members of a class or citizen protected by subsection A." Now, there are several ways the election process could not be equally open to a group based on race or color. While the most obvious, a law restricting such access, would be a violation, the law takes into consideration other ways of unlawful discrimination. Quote, "In that its members have less opportunity than other members of the electorate to participate in the political process and to elect representatives of their choice." This is what the DNC alleged in their lawsuit, that two parts of Arizona's election law provide less opportunity for blacks, American Indians, and Hispanics to vote. The first was a law requiring that ballots cast in the wrong precinct not be counted. The second, that only certain people are allowed to collect early ballots, was claimed to be enacted with discriminatory intent. Let's take a look at these complaints separately. First, Arizonans who vote in person on election day in a county that uses the precinct system must vote in the precinct to which they are assigned based on their address. If a voter votes in the wrong precinct, the vote is not counted. Some counties divide themselves up into voting precincts. According to Arizona law, citizens must vote in the precinct where they live. According to Justice Kagan and Justices Breyer and Sotomayor, who joined in her dissent, quote, "The out-of-precinct policy results in Hispanic and African-American voters' ballots being thrown out at a statistically higher rate than those of whites." Does the fact that Hispanic and black voters cast their ballots in the wrong precinct at a higher rate than whites, a fact I did not find the dissent providing any evidence of, mean that they have less opportunity to vote? Justice Kagan also claims that Arizona has more offenders of their out-of-precinct law than any other state. Again, I ask the question, how would the fact that out-of-precinct voting happens more often in Arizona than other states show that the law provides less opportunity to vote based on race or color? So according to the majority of the court, it doesn't. Quote, having to identify one's polling place and then travel there to vote does not exceed the usual burdens of voting. In addition, the state made extensive efforts to reduce the impact of out-of-precinct policy on a number of valid votes ultimately cast. Example, by sending a sample ballot to each household that includes a voter's proper polling location. The burden of identifying and traveling to one's assigned precinct are also modest when considering Arizona's political process as a whole. The state offers other easy ways to vote, which likely explains why out-of-precinct votes on Election Day make up such a small and apparently diminishing portion of overall ballots cast. Next, let's look at the second claim by the DNC, that limiting third-party ballot collection is racist. Quote, Arizona's law banning most third-party ballot collection also results in a significant race-based disparity in voting opportunities. The problem with that law, again, lies in facts nearly unique to Arizona. Here, the presence of rural Native American communities that lack ready access to mail service. Now, at first, this argument by the dissent seems to have merit. However, as I reviewed their argument, one thing stood out. Justice Kagan only discussed the option of mailing in an early ballot. The majority of the court noted that postal service is one of several methods of sending in early ballots. Quote, Arizonans can submit early ballots by going to a mailbox, a post office, an early ballot drop box, or an authorized election official's office. Now, the majority also compared the effort required to find a mailbox, post office, ballot drop box, authorized election official office, or a family member, household member, or caregiver to do so for you with the compelling interest of preserving the integrity of its election procedures. See, dissent mentioned that it's a crime in Arizona for someone to tamper with a ballot, but as we've seen, laws don't stop people from committing crimes. While the dissent agrees with the district court that, quote, tamper-evident envelopes and a rigorous voter signature verification procedure protect against any such attempts. Recent elections show that's not entirely true, with significant problems with signature verification reported in Nevada, Texas, Michigan, and Georgia. Furthermore, while such procedures may limit the tampering with ballots, they do nothing to prevent the introduction of fake ballots into a system by third parties with a political agenda. Again, setting aside the partisan question, do the Arizona laws provide unequal opportunities for people of all races and colors to vote? Not inherently, though a case could be made that there need to be sufficient legitimate ballot drop-off locations where postal locations are not readily available. I decided not to go through all the legal mumbo-jumbo with you this time, and there was plenty, but to focus on the question of racism since it's used as a bludgeon so often in society today. As the court found, it is not racist to put in basic laws to ensure voter integrity. It's not racist to require that people vote in the county or precinct in which they live. And it's not racist to limit who has access to ballots before they are counted. Now, sometimes I wonder, who is the racist? The person claiming everyone's vote should be protected, or the one who claims the rules to limit opportunities for fraud are racist? I'm probably like most Americans, and I want every legal ballot counted. But also, I hope like most Americans recognize that not all ballots may be legally cast. And that's the important part. How do we make it easy to vote but limit the opportunity for fraud, the opportunity to cheat? And that's a tough act to pull off. It's a fine line. In reading this opinion, the one thing that really stuck out with me is, do we have a problem with rural Native American voters? In other words, is their access to early ballot drop-off subpar? And is it targeted at them, or does it really give a lower opportunity for them to vote? Now, that doesn't mean the law is racist. It just means that putting the law into effect may need some verification. If post offices are too far away, well, what other drop boxes and other opportunities are there? Listen, we're going to have debates between the parties probably for the rest of the existence of the country. But we need to look at these laws as objectively as we can. A voter integrity law isn't simply racist because it's trying to keep the votes correct, to be fair. On the other hand, every attempt to overturn a voter integrity law isn't automatically a political move. There may be legitimate issues. We need to look at the facts. We need to look at the details. We need to do so with an open mind. Now, we may not always agree on what is the right answer, but we should be striving for what is the constitutional answer. Now, if you want to find out more, head to constitutionstudy.com. I have other articles. I'm going through more court cases, and I hope you'll listen to my radio program on America Out Loud. I'm on 5 days a week, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Just look for AmericaOutloud.com or download the app, or I'm also on iHeartRadio Network. This show is also on as a podcast, and if you give me a rating and review, that also helps. All of this helps me share this information more broadly to more people, and that's really what this is about. Now, if you want to join with others that are interested in studying the Constitution, please head to constitutionscholars.com. That's where we get together, we discuss, we debate, we research, we try to understand. It's set up as a community, a set of communities without algorithms or artificial intelligence trying to control what you get to see and what you get to hear. The only intelligence there is me making sure you're not using foul language. All of these are resources for you to use and for you to share, and I hope you'll continue to do so. And if you can help me financially, that'd be great. You can find that on the website. But as we go into the second half of 2021, there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot of threat to our rights and our liberties. And while I know I'm not the only one out here raising the alarm, there don't seem to be a lot of us. So please join with us, help us to help you protect your rights, protect your liberties, and to keep America free. As the preamble of the Constitution says, to protect the blessings of liberty for ourselves and for our posterity. Hopefully you'll join me next time for the Constitution Study.
One thing you have to know wherever you make your stand came from